Welcome to the Fantasy Fling DFS channel.
What is up? This is Fling here, doing a little Friday night with Fling. Wanted to go live for the last podcast, UFL podcast of the season. Not going to be doing the playoff one. Just want to focus on week 10 and figure out, I go live for this one and kind of share my final thoughts. We're doing the first look for the first 9 weeks, but we're going to get into this one and share the final thoughts. So let's do it. All right. So, week 10. This is a crazy one to navigate. And right away, we're going to jump into the Vegas lines. And when I say this is a crazy one to navigate, we have all kinds of shenanigans going on. We have games that don't matter. We have games that do matter. And then we have games that really don't matter, but teams are playing them like they do just because that's kind of that team's MO. And then we have teams that don't care about depth charts. So for Daryl Johnston, telling the Marcast that transparency was important in the UFL, and those depth charts coming out when they are, that's important for sports betting and that whole DFS and all that. Well, it's not really true. We're finding out. At least maybe it's true for the CEO, but we got coaches that don't really care, probably because they're not going to be here next year. If we're being honest. So we're going to get into that, but I want to start out this with the Vegas line. All right, let's make that smaller. Glad I took a look at that. So Michigan Panthers, that's going to be the first game. Michigan Panthers and the Birmingham Stallions. Now, normally this game would actually mean a lot, and this would be for home field, Michigan versus Birmingham. But because of Michigan Stadium, for something, the restrictions that they have going on at their stadium, they cannot host this playoff game. So it's going to go to Birmingham. That's just kind of like just another thing in the UFL that's kind of a mess. Even though Michigan's a good team, the fan base hasn't really supported their team very well. So, stadium attendance has been a problem this year, and just, overall planning in some aspects. This is kind of it. So this game, nonetheless, is meaningless. These two teams, the 4 teams in the playoffs, have been decided for basically 2 weeks before last week now. We got Michigan Panthers going against Birmingham Stallions. Last game of the season will also be the first game of the playoffs for the USFL Conference. Now, this one is meaningless, 43.5 point total. And, on the Michigan side, Danny Etling is QB1 and Bryce Perkins is QB2. Now, last week, that didn't mean anything because Danny Etling came in, didn't look very good, and Bryce Perkins came in, didn't look great passing, but looked better than Etling, and then was electric on the ground, specifically near the goal line, ran several touchdowns and got 29 DK points. So we have the same setup this week. What's it going to be? I don't know. But as far as Michigan, Etling is getting the start. Now, Colburn is not playing in this game, and I think they just want to save him for the playoffs. They already lost Wes Hills for the season, so they're going to bring in Nate McCrary to start this game. Colburn's out, and then we got Tua. I think it's Taua. So he's going to be backing up Michigan. He's going to be backing up Nate McCrary, and also we have Marcus Sims out. So Michigan, they are kind of playing this like it's a meaningless game for them. They're sitting some of their stars. The Birmingham side, we have no indication that they're going to do that. Now, what's tricky is Adrian Martinez is QB1, but they have nothing to play for. They didn't last week except a perfect season. Well, they lost last week to San Antonio. The offense got bottled up, and now they really have nothing to play for because they have home field advantage in the first round, and that's pretty much it. So that said, last year we saw Alex Magoo play the full game more or less in the same scenario. So playing Adrian Martinez this week is going to be really tricky. I do think it's different, though, because we have Matt Corral. We didn't have a guy behind Magoo last year who was really good. So I think we'll probably see some Matt Corral in this game. Because of that, I'm not really in on Martinez as I normally would be, specifically with Michigan being, one of the better teams in a tougher defense. Now, we also got Pearson out on the Birmingham side, so we do have one guy out. Seems like, they've kind of just been rotating Marable and Person, just kind of keeping these guys healthy. So it's Person and Roundtree. And, this game's a 43.5-point total. Birmingham, 8-point favorites. I think they'll win this. Just going to be, who is going to be the quarterback for the whole game, who's going to get the bulk of the carries at running back. There are questions that need to be answered. Now, game of the week, and it's kind of same thing. This mirrors the USFL conference. We have the St. Louis Battlehawks versus San Antonio Brahmas. St. Louis, they lost last week. Had they won, taking care of business, had AJ McCarron been able to play, well, they probably wouldn't be in this position where they need to win this game. We have these two teams that are battling for the home field advantage. Now, home field advantage is very important, specifically in the XFL conference, because St. Louis has the best fan base in the league, 30,000 fans in St. Louis, going to be in that dome. So if they win this game, they get that home game. They really want that. They got a lot to play for. San Antonio on the other side, they don't want to go to St. Louis's dome with 30,000 fans. They want this game to be in San Antonio, so they have a lot to play for. We get Chase Garbers back in this game. He came back last week, looked pretty good. Got Kirkland going, got Stevenson going. So we get Garbers back next week or this week, and when these two teams squared off in week 3, it was a good matchup. It was high scoring. I'm not sure it'll be as high scoring this time around. Maybe it will. I don't think so. But I think we're in for a good game, and this one's exciting. St. Louis, 2.5-point favorites. They won by 7 last time. We'll see how it goes this time. Now, on the San Antonio side, they're going to be without McFarland. They're going to be without Lovett, but they have the deepest running back room in the league. So they got Morgan Ellison in this spot. And they actually are without Al Latimer, so that's going to be a big loss. St. Louis, they're more or less healthy. They've got Aitman out for this one, but they're so deep wide receiver, it doesn't matter. I like St. Louis in this game, and honestly, I like them to cover the 2.5, but I think a lot of that's dependent on how healthy McCarron is. He missed the last 2 games. He's back in this one. They need to win. So we'll see how this goes. Now, next 2 games, we got Arlington going against DC. DC is favored 2.5-point favorites in this game. And, this is the highest total on the slate. And it's not surprising. Both of these teams really have not had the best defenses. DC, their defense has just been very underwhelming this year. In fact, they got the worst run D in the league. So this is a great spot for Devian Smith. And he's 7,300. I normally don't like playing him, but I think this is going to be a spot to play him. And then on the DC side, Jordan Tiamo, he is going to be one of the chalk quarterbacks. He projects really well this week against an Arlington secondary. It's just been really poor. The problem with Jordan Tiamo, though, he could easily fail. He had 31 last week against Memphis, but he's turned the ball over a lot. We've seen Jalen McClendon play a little bit as well, so it's tough to say. I do think this game has shootout potential as we get into the quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. I like guys on both sides. Now, this last game, when I talk about liars, Curtis Johnson, everyone's going to think I hate him. I kind of do. I think he's a terrible coach, and I don't think he'll be there next year in the UFL, and I think if he is, it's a mistake. This dude had Reed Sinnett as QB1 last week. Then Nolan Henderson gets the start, okay? And then Sinnett plays a couple series, and then Nolan Henderson comes back in. So he did the same thing this week. They've literally said, a guy messaged me who works for, he covers Houston Roughnecks. He basically asked the coaches, they basically said they don't care about the depth charts. They don't mean anything to them. So I think Nolan Henderson is going to be the QB1. There's a lot of risk there, so I'm not going to play it. I wouldn't play like a single entry high dollar with Nolan Henderson as my quarterback. But, one bullet in the large field GPP, or, if you want to get risky with it, lock him in. I think there is a high risk, high reward kind of play this week. Fabulous spot going against the Memphis team that's just terrible across the board, specifically against the pass. Also giving up 30 points per game. Memphis on the other side, they're starting Josh Love, third starting quarterback for them this year. Doesn't seem to matter. They're just bad all around. So it's going to be interesting. I like playing some of their pass catchers, because this is a team that's going to be behind in throwing. Last week, it was Jonathan Adams. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting on the Memphis side. Just Davis bounce back. Papali's looking at weird chalk. I think I might play some Adams on the Houston side. Really love me some Mark Thompson in this spot. There's no pleasure, so we're going to get into that in just a minute. So, yeah. Let's look at the quarterbacks. All right, so I'm going to start it off over on DK. Yeah, I wanted to do this contest, this 180 2K to first contest when I thought there was going to be so much more clarity. Now I don't even know. Now I'm just like, do I go for the 5K to first? $20 entry. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, let's pick one of these to enter so we can look at the quarterbacks here. So for me, the quarterbacks, in fact, let me pull my sheet up. There's really only a couple guys that I'm really interested this week. Like I said, Adrian Martinez, we know Adrian Martinez is a guy that averages about 30 DK points per game. And as I said before, he didn't start all these games, so this 22 points per game isn't accurate. All the games he started, he's averaged about 30 points, DK points per game. Now, we don't know that he's going to play the full game in this one, so I'm not in on Adrian Martinez. I typically like to target favorite quarterbacks, so that's going to be A.J. McCarron this week, going against San Antonio's 2.5-point favorites. I like A.J. McCarron because of the plethora of pass catchers that he has. I like Hakeem Butler. I like, the fact that he has Pearson. He has Shepard. He has Steven Mitchell. He throws the Sailors out of the backfield. So A.J. McCarron would be probably the safer pick this week. There's really three guys I think that are the safe picks at quarterback this week. A.J. McCarron. The other side of that will be Chase Garbers. Chase Garbers, we saw him in the beginning of the season, first couple games, 21, 25 points. He got hurt week 3, so didn't play. He actually did play the full game, but he had a down week. And then last week, he only played part of the game, so it kind of, it killed his points per game a little bit. But I think he has a 20-point upside, and he looks good last week for sure. Got Kirkland involved. There's also a trick play where, there was a double throw and, Kirkland got a passing touchdown. Kirkland came to life, so he's going to be my favorite sacking partner with Garbers. But what I love was we saw the studs get back into the mix. Kirkland, Stevenson, and with McFarland being out and Lovett being out, I really like that they're probably going to go more pass heavy, which I think is good in this matchup, because I think they're gonna have to do that to beat St. Louis. Now, the other guy that I think will be the safest, and specifically just being the chalk. I was seeing Jordan Tiamu for, I don't know, about, I think it was 20. Let me take a look here. I think it was 20% ownership, 23%. So right now he's actually projected for the highest ownership, Jordan Ta'amu. And it makes sense going against an Arlington team, which kind of show you right here. They're not exceptionally good against pass. They're actually second worst team in the league, averaging 216 yards, allowing 216 yards per game to opposing offenses, opposing quarterbacks. Only worse is Memphis. So I think it totally makes sense to play Ta'amu in this spot. And, I think if you want to get off of that, for sure, you can in GPPs. But yeah, he definitely be your cash play. There's merit to fading that. And, I think there's a couple spots for leverage. You can play Bryce Perkins again, assuming the Etling is terrible and he takes over and, rushes in 2 touchdowns and, runs for 70, 50 yards. Absolutely. You can play Adrian Martinez. Like I said, if he plays the full game, he could score 30 points. He could be QB1. And then last for me, it's Nolan Henderson. This guy, the past couple weeks, throwing the ball, I think he's looked exceptionally well. 14 points, 21 points. This is not playing the full game. And this is going against Birmingham and Michigan. These are the 2 best defenses in the league. And he was impressive during both games. He flashed. He looks like this is a guy that could be QB1 next year. I like Henderson as a GPP play for sure at his 8,900 price. And guys, he is going against the defense who I just showed you. Memphis, 254 yards per game they're giving up. So he's my GPP dart this week, going with some Henderson. So I'll just plug him in there. Now, let's move it along to running backs. Now, for me, at running back, it's kind of it's a very good value week because of sitting of the starters. So Jacob Sailors is a guy. I think he has the best floor. He's the guy. He's averaging. Well, he clearly has the best floor. He's averaging 17 DK points per game. His floor is 11 points. So now, and he's even better. The best games that we've seen from him are typically with AJ McCarron. That's where he's likely to hit his highest floor, and he also has the highest ceiling because AJ McCarron will very much utilize him out of the backfield in ways that Wilkins cannot. He can throw the ball at the perfect spot in space to where Sailors has the most room to do something after the catch. So he's utilized a lot more with AJ McCarron in the lineup. Look at the last 2 games, only 1 target. The 2 before, 6 and 7. So I like him a lot in the spot, even going against tough run defense, just because of those 6 to 7 targets. Like, that's a really good floor. Even if he's terrible running, like he was against Houston in week 6, like he still finished with 11 DK points because he got 7 targets. So he got 5. He got 7 points just off of receiving in a full PPR. Now, the other guy that I really like is a pay-up option is Mark Thompson going against Memphis. No, Memphis is they're not good all around. So to give up 111 rush yards, 254 pass yards. This is a team that gives up a lot of yards. What does that lead to? That leads to a lot of points. So they're giving up 30 points per game. I love this spot specifically with the uncertainty at quarterback and the fact that TJ Pledger's out and Urza Gray hasn't gotten any carries in this league. Like, we don't know what he's going to look like. And Mark Thompson is the best running back in spring football. He just has not. He started the year hurt. He didn't play for the first few weeks. He's on a bad team, but he's a really good running back. So I like Thompson in this spot as well. Now, kind of one of the last guys, I was looking at as far as pay up options. It's Thompson, it's Sailors, and then, kind of my favorite after that, in the 7K range would be Morgan Ellison. So Ellison, he's cheaper than that. He's the next guy. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm excited about Ellison. Now, where is he? Dev Smith. DC is the worst team in the league against the run. They're giving up 125 yards per game, and I don't like Dev Smith. I hardly ever play him. In fact, I have a bias against him, and it's definitely it's funny because it's made me money, but it also has cost me money because 3 weeks ago, when was it? Yeah, 3 weeks ago, he broke the slate. And sometimes that happens. That's DFS. You fade a guy, he wins. You win by fading him, but then it's the 1 week where you're like, okay, I might just have a 0 return this week because he was chalk and he broke the slate. Well, this could potentially be that spot for Dev Smith going against the worst run D in the league. Now, let me see what his ownership is. Because of the great value at running back, I don't think he's going to be high owned. So I like him in this spot. Yeah, he gets work out of the backfield. As we'll look at this real quick. He's getting as many targets almost as any other back in the league. Only 3 backs in the league got more than him. And, and he catches them. So that is part of his floor. And, yeah, I think you could certainly play Dev Smith in this spot. Now, the other guy, the last guy that I'm really wanting to get a lot of, and then it's like, sprinkle these guys in. Morgan Ellison. So Morgan Ellison is only 5,800. Now, both McFarland and Lovett have been ruled out, and they got ruled out after the player pricing came out. So he's only 5,800. He's cheap here. And this guy averages about 5 yards per carry. This is across XFL and UFL. He's a good running back. Okay. Now, he hasn't got the touchdowns yet. The touchdown variance has not been there. He got 2 last week, got 15 points. But a lot of other weeks, he's, only got a few carries, but the average has been high because he hasn't been the main guy. Well, he's the starter this week. And Puka Williams behind him, he's not a running back. He's 170 pounds. He's not a running back. So Morgan Ellison is going to be a mega chalk. So I think he's projected for 45% ownership. I think when it's all said and done, he could be 60%. Now, from a leveraging ownership standpoint, there's merit to fading him. Maybe he ends up with 3 points. Maybe he ends up with 4 points. 50% of the 60% of the field has him. Maybe he gets hurt. Maybe they get into a negative game script and they don't throw to him at all because he's not much of a receiving back. That's how he gets phased out. So there's merit to fading him. But if you're playing the small field, single entry, you're playing cash games, he's definitely the best guy you want to play. And then there is Nate McCrary. So Nate McCrary is going to be the starter, as I kind of talked about, for Michigan with Colburn out. Now, it's a tough matchup, and he's 5K. But at 5K, he falls in the end zone, gets a couple targets, receptions. He basically could be there. Then after that, it's basically going to be your cheapos, your dart throws. Roundtree, here's a scenario I think where Roundtree ends up in the winning lineup or making you money. They don't want to play Marble a lot. They give him 5, 8 carries, and that's it. Or maybe they're up big and they just pull Marable, and Roundtree gets the bulk of the work. So I could see that happening. He's 5,300 and he's ran well. He's averaged over 5 yards per carry. So I almost would rather play the backups. This is a crazy league. Don't play the guy who's expensive against a good run team who in a meaningless game. Play the backup. In fact, I'm probably going to give Roundtree an extra star and I don't know, maybe bump down Marable on my DFS Army cheat sheet. By the way, it's the last week for that. It's been a good year. We've made some money. We've had close to some takedowns, almost twice. Had 2 top 10 finishes, almost won 20K, almost won 10K. It's been a pretty good year. You either win these or you don't. We're still trying to win one. We got a few weeks left, so we'll see how it goes. But by the way, if you guys have rode with me, if you watch this content this year for UFL DFS, let me know. Hit that like button. Let me know how it's gone for you. Let me know if you're going to play next year. It's already been confirmed for next year. And make sure you subscribe to the channel because I got best ball content coming up real quick. I'm going to take a week off, 2 weeks off, and then jumping right into the best ball content. My mic hasn't been good the past couple weeks. I'm trying to figure that out. I might find a new mic before I make any more YouTube videos. Trying to troubleshoot that right now. But, yeah, we'll get it figured out. But, yeah, I think that is – and then the other guy would be Tawua for Michigan. Kind of the same thing with McCrary. You play the backup. Maybe they don't want McCrary to play. Yeah, I think that's probably going to – be it for the running back. All right, so right into the wide receivers. I'm gonna go quick with this one. Don't want it to be too long. It's already been 27 minutes, and it's Friday night. My wife's waiting for me. So, Hakeem Butler. With A.J. McCarron back, Hakeem Butler is back in play. I mean, it's a clear drop-off, guys. Week 6 and 7. I mean, just look at week – he had a slow start to the year, but look at week 3 through week 7. And then what happened? A.J. McCarron hurt his ankle against Birmingham, didn't play against D.C., didn't play against Arlington. And I told you, if you watched, I said don't play – don't play Hakeem Butler at 10-7 or at 10-5 because there's going to be a fall off from AJ McCarron to Wilkins or Silvers, whoever the heck they decided to play. Well, that's exactly what happened. But now Hakeem Butler is back. His breakout party was week 3 this year against San Antonio. 8 receptions, 8 targets, 6 receptions, 87 yards, and a tutty. So I think you go back to him. Also, I want to kind of break this down by teams that I'm just looking to target. Now, Pearson has been very up or down. He's been basically he hasn't been usable with he didn't play last week, but with Wilkins, just terrible. Week 7, just not good against Birmingham. Tough defense. It's been disappointing. However, I will say this is the first time that both Pearson and Shepard are both starting because Aitman's out. So I think you could mix in. Let's say you wanted to do the large field GPP. You wanted to just go one quarterback. You want to lock in McCarron. This is where I would play like Pearson. This is where I would play Shepard as well. Now, Shepard actually probably like a little better than Pearson. I don't think he has the same ceiling, but he's cheap. There he is. He's 6,300, and every other game when we've seen now he only had like one good week early, but and then Pearson came on and then he's just been MIA, and then he looked better last week. That was even with Wilkins, but now we have no Aitman, so we get Pearson and Shepard on at the same time. I think San Antonio, they can play man, they can play zone. Guys like Shepard and Pearson, they're really good at beating zone. So I would say I would probably – I don't know that you need to double stack. I don't know that you need to double stack McCarron. I think I would probably play I definitely would not play Butler and Pearson in the same lineup. I think you play just scheme-wise, money-wise, salary-wise. I think you can play Butler and Shepard together, but I would not play Pearson and Butler in the same lineup this week. So he's the other guy that I like. Now, the other top-end guy, a couple other top-end guys, I like Kirkland. Like I said, I think Garbers unlocks him a bit. He's 10K. I like him a lot this week because he looked himself again, and it's been a while. He scored 16 points last week, and I think he did pretty well, and he's going to get peppered with targets as long as Garbers is the quarterback. And then the last guy, I like Justin Hall, the last high price guy. So I'm not playing David Davis. He only got 2 targets last week with Josh Love. He's going to be high owned. I think that's just going to be a strategic fade for me. Justin Hall, however, is been getting just peppered with targets. He broke the slate last week. This is chalk, and I do expect him to be chalk. Let's see what his ownership is looking at. Yeah, Hall's projected for about 25% ownership. So he's projected as the highest owned wide receiver on the slate. And I do think for good reason. And also, here's the deal. I think you pay up for wide receivers when there's value at running back. So that's when you do it. However, that type of ownership also plays some Kiki Chisholm. Also play as direct leverage the Chisholm, and maybe you play some Thompson. Maybe you just think, yes, passing game will be there, but also maybe Thompson gets all the tutties. So think about ways to get direct leverage, or you can totally play an onslaught stack. Henderson, Justin Hall, Mark Thompson, type. Play both those guys, and you can still differentiate your lineup with overall lineup construction. But let's say we wanted to play Butler and Hall. Let's say you want to play both of those guys. I think we can make this work this week. We'll see. Okay. So some more wide receivers. Kind of take a peep at what I have on my sheet. All right. So don't want to go through every single player here, but want to kind of go to some guys that I think could be some good plays, of course. Could be some value plays. Just run through this a little bit. With Sims out, I normally would go towards Mariner, but I do think there's a question of how much will Mariner play in this spot. So maybe go with Trey Quinn. Maybe go with Devin Gray. I don't think they have a ton of need to play him, and they already seem to be resting some guys. So I think maybe they play him a little bit, and then they can pull in. Brandon Smith is a guy who's been getting a lot of targets in back-to-back weeks, over 7.5 targets past 2 weeks. And it's a good matchup going against Arlington. He's 4,600. So that's how I play Ellison, Butler, Hall, Brandon Smith. That's how I play those guys of the world. Wow. So I think that lines up. So if I needed like a value play and I still wanted to squeeze in Mark Thompson, boom, I could do that. And then I could roll in. I wouldn't do showboats. I think the Renegades could actually, Tamu's been kind of a turnover machine. Yeah, I think he could play like that kind of lineup. That would be kind of lineup I would certainly play. I think it's kind of loading, and don't steal that one. Win money with that. So, but yeah, let's kind of look at some other wide receivers here, and then I will close this out, and that'll be a wrap on the DFS content for UFL for the non-DFS Army subscribers. By the way, DFS Army subscribers, I will still do the playoffs. And then, of course, that's included in a Core 4 membership. So for people who like playing DFS and, are going to be bored between the UFL and the NFL, well, you can play MLB right now. That's included in a Core 4 membership. MLB, NHL, NBA, and NFL, and you get UFL for free. So my cheat sheet I do every week over at DFS Army. In fact, I'll show you guys this right now. This is for DFS Army subscribers. You get access to this. This is my UFL cheat sheet, kind of some of the names that I'm, of course, going through. And we do the same thing for all the other sports. We also have the tools, the domination station. In fact, let me run through that real quick. We got MLB going on right now. So you go to the domination station. This is our optimizer. We can build lineups for Draftkings or FanDuel. Like I said, this is part of a Core 4 membership. You can build stacking rules. You can limit exposures. You can bump up projections. You can lock in players. However you want to do it, this tool is totally customizable for DFS Army subscribers. This is something you get for all sports. Core 4 membership, like I said. And this includes UFL content, which I do the cheat sheet. So you can try a month. I'll put the description in the video. If you want to join DFS Army, use code FANTASYFLING, get you 10% off a VIP subscription. That said, let's finish this up with a couple other wide receivers. I think, like I said, I think Nakua, Gray, these are specifically Gray. He's been seeing more. 7 targets the week before, 3 last week. Just an uber punt. Now, a couple guys I think could be real big punts, solid punts, actually. One being Puka Williams. Now, if you're playing Puka Williams, just know that he's listed as a wide receiver. You can play him in the flex. He's lined up at running back this week for San Antonio. Would not play him for his rush game potential ability. It's going to be as a receiver. So Morgan Ellis is not much of a receiving back. He can catch dump offs, but he's not really a receiving back. He's not utilized that way. So maybe they bring in Puka Williams in obvious passing situations, and he gets, maybe they scheme him up a little bit. He could get there pretty easily. Alize Mack with Cody Latimer out. Yeah, I wouldn't mind him either. He's caught a couple touchdowns this year. In fact, he screwed me out of 20K. So yeah, still bitter about that. When I had AJ McCarron, Hakeem Butler, Darius Shepard, and this is week 3 actually, and McFarland bring back, and I was in 11th place in the 20K to first. 8 minutes left. I'm in 11th place. 2 touchdowns to score. It goes to Sailors and Mac. I'm like, really? I got 4 guys in that game, 4 studs. Couldn't go to any of those guys. So, anyways, 2,800. He's a punt. Solid punt. Kiki Kuti, he's a guy. He's been getting schemed up this past few weeks. Now they're giving him targets, 5 targets, 6 targets. They're also giving him carries. He got 3 attempts last week and a touchdown, 1 the week before. It's kind of Swiss Army knife. So yeah, I like me some Kiki Kuti. Burnett would be like a direct leverage play. Did I mention Vaughns? I like Vaughns with Pate now and Burnett for sure. And also Isaiah Winstead. He's a real punt. Deep target. Got a lot of targets last week. He's 4,300. Yeah, he's a deep threat. So he's definitely a guy I would like as well. And yeah, I think that's going to do it. I think that's going to wrap it up. So thank you so much for joining me this season. Best of luck for week 10. Hope you win some money. For DFS Army subscribers, I will continue with the content, of course, the cheat sheet and the playoffs. And then in the Discord, we'll be in the Discord. We'll be strategizing. And then also, you guys follow me on X at Fantasy Fling, Twitter, X, whatever the kids are calling it. I think Elon might even put a poll out yesterday. Might even change the name back to Twitter. I don't know. But follow me on that. We'll talk some UFL. And then we'll be jumping into best ball. So thanks again. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to smash that like button and subscribe. You know you don't want to miss what's coming next. We really appreciate it. And we'll catch you in the next episode right here on the Fantasy Fling DFS channel.